Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here this morning with what I hope is a very exciting panel from the industry leaders that we have assembled. I guess what I would like to say before we start is that if you look at each of these individual bios, and I will briefly introduce each of the speakers so that I don't have to get up to the podium between each speech. They'll each talk for about 15 or 20 minutes. We'll save questions for the end because what I'm hoping is that we'll be able to get a good discussion going from this panel. As you look at their bios and their companies, what you're going to see is that they actually represent almost the entire spectrum, all the way from Earth imaging and observing data collection through the entire processing stream and then out to the delivery of services. And I think certainly at the pre-conference workshops and for many of the sessions that we're going to be talking about the next couple days, there's a tremendous reliance on geospatial information, data, and services and the role that it plays to the economy in terms of market return, economic return, market size. And yet, we still have some challenges. I think as a community, we have been criticized about being a lot about pushing our assets out versus creating a pull for those assets, or supply side driven versus demand side driven. And I guess what I would really hope from our presentations is that they talk not only about their respective organizations, but they'll also spend some time giving you their views on prospects for the future, challenges, and also opportunities. We don't want to be too negative about this. And so anyway, it's a pleasure for me as the director of the Group on Earth Observation Secretariat in Geneva to be here to chair this panel. Just real briefly, we are an organization of 90 member states and 67 participating organizations, which include UN organizations and scientific organizations. And I think what's so important for us as the Group on Earth Observations at this juncture in our history is our members last November did in fact give us a green light for broadening the engagement. And that broadening the engagement in our organization, in addition to member states and participating organizations, is to include the private sector, foundations and the development banks. And so we think venues like this are a good opportunity for us to, in a more strategic, deliberate fashion, start that dialogue with the private sector. So without further ado, let me introduce briefly each of the speakers. We will first hear from Ray O'Connor. Ray's President and Chief Executive Officer of Topcom Positioning Systems. It's a subsidiary of Topcom Corporation. And I guess what's quite interesting about Ray is that if you look at his brief bio, he was actually the first person of non-Japanese descent to receive Toshiba Corporation's Business Performance Award just last year. So congratulations, Ray, on that. The next speaker will be Ted Lambo. Ted is Senior Vice President of Civil and Geospatial Global Operations, but from 2000 of Bentley Systems. But from 2000 to 2007, he served as Senior Vice President of International Operations, and so has got really broad international expertise with experience in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. And so, Ted, welcome. We're looking forward to hearing from you. Stephen Wood is next, Digital Globe. Steve is Vice President of Digital Globe's Analysis Center and has been in that job for about 2 years, a year and a half, January of 2011, but a career-long imagery analyst, 25 years of satellite imagery experience. And so when we talk about our upstream representations on the panel, certainly Digital Globe will peg that scale, but I'm sure we'll hear about some of your downstream work as well, Steve. Next, we will hear from Almar Hanspaul, Vice President of IPG Product Group, responsible for Autodesk's largest product organization. and is specifically charged with developing integrated product portfolio focused on information modeling. So again, this starts to move us downstream. And I guess quite also interesting about Amar is that before joining Autodesk, he was co-founder and VP of a small startup firm. And so I think he'll also not only talk about the big company's role in this field, but also some of the small company. And then lastly, but not least, Ramon Bartolome Pastor is Vice President and General Manager of HP's large format printing business for the technical and creative market. And so this again includes worldwide responsibility for large format printers. For both Amar and for Ramon, you could look in the May issue of that you each got a copy as you registered. Amar's got a little bit more information on Amar and his company on page 30, and Ramon has got quite a lengthy piece in this article on page 22. So I'd encourage all of you to look at that before the week is over. So, Ray, let me turn the podium over to you. And again, thank you, everyone.